Mele Kalikimaka, everyone. First at 6, tech billionaire Mark Zuckerberg is speaking out for the first time about his so-called doomsday bunker under his 1,500-acre property on Kauai's North Shore. As our Eddie Dowd reports, it's nearly the size of a basketball court.
Over the years, Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg has increased the size of his now 1,500-acre property on Kauai's North Shore. Word of a secret underground bunker on the compound made national headlines earlier this year. Now the tech billionaire is speaking on camera about it for the first time. News of the bunker first broke last year in an extensive article on Wired.com headlined, "Inside Mark Zuckerberg's Top Secret Hawaii Compound." It described a large, self-sufficient underground bunker with what appeared to be a blast-resistant door. In a rare interview released last week with Bloomberg's The Circuit, Zuckerberg was asked about it.
You do have a bunker there. Is there something you know that we don't?
No, I think that's just like a little shelter under, and it's like a basement.
A little shelter? What are you worried about?
It's a basement.
H&N obtained the county's planning documents that show a nearly 4,500 square foot underground storm shelter. That's about the size of an NBA basketball court and about 2/3 the square footage of Iolani Palace. It also shows a tunnel connecting the shelter to the ground level.
It doesn't surprise me that somebody would think, oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Tom Tizek has been a realtor in Hawaii for 25 years.
In all of my years of selling real estate, I've maybe sold 1 or 2 homes with basements, if that.
Tizek says he's never seen one of that size in Hawaii, but given the size of Zuckerberg's entire above-ground compound, the size of the underground shelter is small. He also points out Kauai's past history with hurricanes like Aniki.
It's not unreasonable when you have the financial ability to do something that protect you and your family. So I would say that doesn't surprise me, and I don't think it's absurd.
While Zuckerberg doesn't deny the existence of the shelter, he says it's just a small part of his ranch.
We have the basic house that we built, and we built like an office out there because I work out there. And then just like there's just a bunch of storage space and like, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, hurricane shelter or whatever. I think it got like blown out of proportion as if the whole ranch was some kind of like doomsday bunker, which is just not true.
Did Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg crash President Trump's classified briefing in the White House?
Well, a recent report in the US media claimed that Zuckerberg wandered into a classified Oval Office briefing before being sent out. But the White House is saying that that's not what exactly happened.
Well, the report by NBC News cited sources saying that Zuckerberg entered unannounced during a discussion on military's next-generation fighter jet. The report claimed that Zuckerberg's sudden entrance stunned the Pentagon brass. The Meta CEO was eventually asked to wait outside.
However, the White House was quick to issue a denial, with one senior official claiming that these reports mischaracterized the situation. As per another US media report, a senior White House representative explained that Zuckerberg was there to briefly greet the president. He said that there was no request for him to leave, adding that he popped in just to say hello at the president's request and then left to wait for his meeting that was scheduled for after the briefing.
I think as the personalization loop kicks in and the AI just starts to get to know you better and better, I think that will just be really compelling. One thing just from working on social media for a long time is there's the stat that I always think is crazy. The average American, I think it's fewer than 3 friends. 3 people that they'd consider friends. And the average person has demand for meaningfully more. I think it's like 15 friends or something, right? I guess there's probably some point where you're like, all right, I'm just too busy. I can't deal with more people. But the average person wants more connectivity, connection than they have. So there's a lot of questions that people ask of stuff like, okay, is this going to replace kind of in-person connections or real-life connections? And my default is that the answer to that is probably no. I think I think that there are all these things that are better about kind of physical connections when you can have them, but the reality is that people just don't have the connection and they feel more alone a lot of the time than they would like. So I think that a lot of these things that today there might be a little bit of a stigma around, I would guess that over time we will find the vocabulary as a society to be able to articulate why that is valuable and why the people who are doing these things are like, why they are rational for doing it, and how it is adding value for their lives. But also I think that the field is very early. So, I mean, I think, there are a handful of companies and stuff who are doing virtual therapist and, there's like virtual girlfriend type stuff, but it's very early.
Tonight, Mark Zuckerberg's growing compound on Kauai has some residents worried about iwi kupuna. The tech billionaire has vowed to protect burials on his land, but our Derek Kravitsky says some people want more access.
Oh, Kauai, he aina.
Julian Ako plays his ukulele and sings to honor his ancestors on the Garden Isle.
There's a lot of important memories that are tied to my Kauai ohana that are captured in this song.
At Pila'a Beach, where Ako visited as a child, his great-grandmother and her brother are laid to rest.
The Aina on Kauai at Molo'abe is so important to me and who I am and as a Kanaka, that when when I pass, I've already told my son that my remains are to be cremated and the ashes are to be scattered in the bay there.
Protecting the burial sites became Ako's life mission since Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg moved in 11 years ago, buying and restricting access to 740 acres of land.
That was sad because the place doesn't look the way it looked when I was a kid and I would visit my great-grandfather there. It looks very, very different.
This past January, Zuckerberg expanded his estate to more than 2,000 acres. And although Ako worked with the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative to register his family's graves with the state, he's no longer able to visit them freely. Zuckerberg's organization says employees are required to report any remains discovered, but Ako is worried that construction workers who sign non-disclosure agreements will be discouraged from coming forward.
So it's basically, we're operating on trust that they will do what the law actually requires them to do, but there's no guarantee.
Zuckerberg's foundation, however, does guarantee they'll fence off and maintain the burial plots, and notes that most of the land is dedicated to agriculture, including native plants, and less than 1% of the land is developed. Derek Kravitsky, Hawaii News Now.